This story takes place in the year 2006. My name is Daniel, and my close friend was Alex. I had just finished my graduation, and since I had plenty of free time, we decided to take a road trip across the United States. It was the first time we were going on such a long journey, and the excitement was overwhelming. Our journey began in Denver, Colorado. The drive through the mountains, the fresh air, the green landscapes, everything felt like a dream. After spending a day there, we drove toward Wyoming, where the wide open plains and rivers left us mesmerized. Every turn of the road seemed to offer a new adventure. But suddenly, a problem arose. Alex received an urgent call and had to leave immediately for his hometown. The next morning, he was gone, and I was left all alone. I thought to myself, what's the point of traveling alone? Maybe it was better to head back home. So I packed up, had breakfast, and began my long drive back. By late evening, after hours of driving, fatigue started to take over. Around 11 p.m., my eyes felt heavy, and I knew I had to stop somewhere for the night. But strangely, for miles and miles, there wasn't a single motel or rest stop. Finally, just when I thought I couldn't go any further, I saw an old roadside inn in the middle of a dense forest. The building looked abandoned, cracked walls, broken signboard, and complete silence all around. I pushed the creaky door open and walked inside. The place smelled of damp wood and dust. Hungry and exhausted, I stepped into the kitchen. Just as I reached for a pot of stew on the counter, a hand suddenly grabbed my shoulder from behind. I spun around quickly. A tall man stood behind me. His face seemed calm, but his eyes glowed with something unsettling, something unnatural. Trying to hide my fear, I said, "Sorry, I was starving. Is there anything to eat here?" He didn't reply, only gave me a faint smile and gestured for me to sit. Within moments, he brought out stew and bread. Hunger overpowered my doubts, and I began eating without hesitation. Later, he even offered me tea. Afterward, I asked if there was a room where I could rest. He silently grabbed an old lantern and led me to a small, dimly lit room. The room was damp and smelled of mold. The ceiling was covered in cobwebs, and in the corner stood a broken bed. But what chilled me the most was the figure lying on the floor, covered in a white sheet. It didn't move, it didn't breathe. I lay down on the bed, trying to ignore the presence of that strange figure. Just as sleep began to take over, I heard the sound of children laughing and running around the room. I opened my eyes. The room was empty. No children, no sound, only silence. I turned on the flashlight on my phone, but nothing. Convincing myself it was just fatigue, I closed my eyes again. But then the laughter returned, louder, circling me, as if invisible children were running around my bed. My heart pounded. Suddenly, in a dreamlike vision, I saw my mother standing before me. She whispered, "Wake up, son. If you stay asleep, they'll kill you." I jolted upright, and there, in the darkness, two burning red eyes were staring straight at me. My breathing grew heavier. I realized the innkeeper was still in the room, standing silently, wrapped in a white sheet, like the figure I had seen earlier. Trying to control my panic, I muttered, "It's cold. That's why I can't sleep." He said nothing. To change the subject, I asked, "How much do I owe you for the food and tea?" His voice was low and slow. "Just 10 cents. My blood ran cold. 10 cents? That was the price of a meal in the 1960s. I didn't argue. I quickly handed him some money and excused myself, saying I needed to grab my jacket from the car. He followed me. his lantern swaying in the darkness. Outside, the rain had started pouring, and the wind howled through the trees. I jumped into my car, turned on the heater, and tried to calm my nerves. But the man walked up to my window, tapped the glass, and whispered, "Come back inside. It's dangerous out here." I pretended to nod, but my eyes caught something behind the inn. In the pouring rain, a group of people were digging into the ground. As I focused, I realized they were digging graves. Some pits were already filled, others lay open, waiting. From somewhere deep in the forest, a scream echoed, long, desperate, and filled with agony. I froze. My instincts screamed at me, "Leave now, or you'll be the next grave." I shifted the gear and slammed my foot on the accelerator. The tires screeched as my car sped into the dark forest road. In the rearview mirror, I saw him, the innkeeper, but he wasn't human anymore. His body had grown monstrously large, 4 times the size of a man. His hair wild, his face deformed, and his glowing red eyes burning like fire. He was running after my car. I didn't dare look back again. For over an hour, I drove at full speed until finally I reached a gas station with several cars parked outside. I pulled over, locked the doors, and eventually drifted into a restless sleep. By morning, I continued my drive and finally reached home. But by then I was burning with fever. My family rushed me to the doctor. After listening to my entire story, the doctor leaned back in his chair, expressionless. Then, with a strange smile, he said, "Congratulations, you've been given a second chance. 6 years ago, my own brother took that same road. He saw the same end, but he never came back." The room fell silent. A chill ran down my spine. Since that night, I have never traveled that road again. But the question remains, does that inn still exist? Or does it only appear to those who are destined to spend their final night there?